Hello to anybody that may be out there listening. As our website, my art, and today I'm going to carry on one of the projects. If you have any questions, feel free to ask. And basically, if you feel like it, while I work on my. So before I get started, I'm going to touch base on what we're working on. So I'll sort of run through the past of it, years and years back. I did a bunch of different fan designs and I decided recently that I'd sort of play with it a little bit, see where it goes, and sort of use it as a filler, as a break from some larger projects. So here's sort of the evolution of it. This is where I left it quite a number of years back. So pretty basic. And then over the last few streams that I've done, this is sort of the evolution of the model. And that brings us to sort of where we're at today. And I'm going to carry on and start filling it in and sort of see where today goes. And probably next stream will be a different model. I'm probably going to carry on weapon modules for the Abydos class. And when I take a break from that again, I'll probably continue this one. And you know, he's getting pretty close to being finished. So here's the model as it is in the software. I work in Lightwave. And don't be a stranger. Always the hardest point when you're starting is deciding where you want to begin from. I'm debating whether I want to sort of finish filling in some of the center area or carry out during the wings. I'm also sort of debating with myself what I want to do with this section of the ship. I want to do some sort of weapon setup, and I'm sort of debating between maybe some sort of drone or missile launcher, or make it into like some sort of energy pulse cannons that come out of there. So I haven't fully decided the best way to go with that, since the main function on this ship is going to be more transportation, but it's going to be tactical transportation. I think I'll sort of start a little bit with here, because when I did my actual renders of the model and I was able to sort of look at it a little bit closer, it just sort of felt a little bland in this region. And one thing I'm sort of doing a little bit down the line, and it probably some sort of video, probably doing some tutorials on the backgrounds that I've been making for the models. So it'll probably be a multi-part sort of series where the first part will probably focus like the planets that I've been doing and some of the celestial bodies been done in Grand Designer, which you can get off of Steam. and I've been using those to create sort of an asset collection to add to backgrounds. So I might go into a little bit of creating something from those, and then I'll probably go into Lightwave and sort of show how I do my basic nebula setup, and then in whatever last bit it'll be probably a shorter video. Sort of composite all of it together and turn it into the backgrounds that I've been creating recently. I think that looks as a sort of a decent setup for the detail that section. I always have to remember which axis I'm on. And I do apologize if I do sound a little stuffy. Unfortunately, we've been getting a lot of weather changes recently, and it really mucks up my sinuses. I think that works pretty well. Another thing I'm sort of thinking about doing in the future, and sort of related to the streaming concept, is I want to do sort of shorter streams, but they're be more focused on casual chatting for people that might want to discuss different sci-fi things, Stargate, Babylon 5, even just modeling in general, and just basically casual chit-chat. I think it would be a good way to engage with the community and get to know some people and hopefully have some fun. Okay. When you hit weird buttons that you don't know what they do. I definitely like how it's starting to fill in. Okay, let's see what we want to do with this piece. I think it's going to become some sort of venting system. Don't think I want it to be quite that big. Yeah, that's better. Okay, how do you look that way? There we go. That's what we want. Take him out of there. I want to do him with just one more. And uniform. We'll sink these ones a little bit deeper. And I think we want to add a little bit of extra depth to this. Yeah, I like the look of that. Yeah, sometimes when I'm doing modeling, I almost feel like half my time is staring at things and contemplating. It's surprisingly how hard to actually come up with an idea and concept on the fly. Like a lot of the models I sketch beforehand and I have a general idea what I'm going to be building, but all the detail in that is sort of on the fly as I go, and it's sort of an evolutionary process. You never quite know where the model will end up at the end. And I've had a lot where I just start the model and I get the basic shape sort of in place, and once you have it in 3D space and you can rotate around it, it's like, no, that's just not going to work. I think my biggest example of that is when I was working on the Arcadia, my Babylon 5 model that I did as a replacement for the Hyperion. So basically like a Warlock inspired Hyperion. And the first go that I had at it, I got a shape sort of roughed out, and just it felt too clunky, too heavy in certain areas. It missed the whole streamlined feeling that I really wanted, and so it just sort of went to the saved garbage pile, because you never ever know, because sometimes a design might fit another project. And started again, and obviously the second attempt worked out far better. Oops. think we'll take this little one and bring him down. And then I think we'll bring these ones in, maybe not quite that much. And then raise them up. And one of the things that you sort of notice me doing, like the models as far as texturing are pretty basic. They just get a repeating hull pattern, so there's nothing overly complicated. But as I build them, I sort of plan what I want to do with them. So I usually have a main texture color, so the main hull color, which is usually the light gray. I usually incorporate darker areas, which are tagged separately on the model. That's in the dark gray. And then when you actually look at the model itself, there's a bunch of areas that are colored in different ways. So the areas colored like this will eventually become transparent so that you can see into like the hollow room areas and behind, and then different areas for lights are tagged separately so that they can be illuminated. So a little foreplanning in what you do so that you don't end up with a huge mess at the end. Definitely liking where we're going. think I will take that sort of here. Let me take that a little further in. I have not quite that far. A little indentation in there. And do the same thing on this side. Split him in two. Okay, let's see what we want to do with this area. How does that look if I just bring it up just a touch? Definitely need something a little more in this area. Oh yeah, that makes a huge difference in there. It's amazing how little small things can make a huge difference. Okay, how is this sort of looking? That's actually quite a decent dent in the center area done. Next time I think I'm going to work on, well, next time that I work on this one anyways, I want to sort of fill this area in with some more like heavier mechanical components. And then I think finalize what I'm going to do with these. Like as I said, I'm sort of debating whether to go with some sort of missile or drone launcher, or go with something more traditional like a Asgard plasma, not so much a beam but like a pulse weapon. And then back here will be the engines. So haven't decided if I'm going to go more conventional, like if I do more like a conventional circular rocket sort of design, I'll probably add 2 smaller ones down there and maybe try to incorporate some sort of larger one in this area. But all in all, I think it's coming along pretty decently. Like, I'm actually happy how it's filled out since, I last worked on it, and that was quite a long while ago. And I think before I head off today, again, one of the things I'm usually asked quite a bit about by people is that they want to have access to my models to do 3D printing, which is obviously quite popular right now. And since the new year, I've been sort of working towards that goal. So via my Patreon page, link sort of seen there, I've been slowly converting over some of my existing models so that they can be loaded into whatever printing program and or edited as needed to be 3D printed. I'd like to stress that these models were originally built for the purpose of basically 3D rendering as far as like scenes and animations, so the detail on them is quite high, and they were never fully designed with the concept of supports and some of the needed things in 3D printing. So if a person wants to sort of do some changes to make it workable for their printing, by all means. And they are available via my tier 4 3D printing on my Patreon page. Monthly subscription runs you about $15, and I'm continuing adding new models, and once I convert all my existing collection of the models that I have built, this excludes commission work, I'm probably also going to start to do some models that are actually geared from the ground up for 3D printing, sort of supporting that community, because I know people like to have sort of that physical aspect. Like, you enjoy shows, we're all fans of the shows, but to have that physical representation of your fandom sort of adds that special touch for a lot of fans, including myself. So these are sort of the ones that are available right now. So we have the Tempest, Excalibur, Daedalus, my version of a cargo jumper, so not necessarily built for transit through the gate, but it's basically they took the frame of an existing one during wartime, expanded it so they could carry more materials, and so it'd be outfitted similar to an existing jumper where it'd have the cloaking device, hyperspace capable. I've also started to do some of my buildings that I built for various scenes incorporating the Stargate Ancients. So I've done so far a hangar, my jumper port that I built quite a number of years ago, and then I had sort of a command outpost that I was working on. And then as far as Babylon 5, I have a crew shuttle that I built. And then some of my original designs, this would be a heavy Corvette, again sort of Warlock era, so a lot of the technological improvements, including artificial gravity, would be incorporated into that design. And this one would be a smaller patrol sort of Corvette, so it'd be more in system and around colonies to help defend it from raiders. And then sort of speaking of raiders, like throughout the series we've seen 2 different designs for the Raider battle wagon, so I wanted to sort of take the elements that I liked from both designs and combine them into their own ship. So we ended up with one that sort of takes some of the elements from one, incorporates a rotating section for gravity, and then a large cargo area for the fighters. And speaking of fighters, this would be one of the Raider fighters. And then I also have the cargo ship. And this was my first attempt at 3D printing, so I just got a 3D printer recently. And basically everything was going good, and unfortunately the adhesion of the model to the surface wasn't quite as good as I was hoping that I had it set up to be. Again, learning process, and poor little Pikachu came loose and he ended up decapitated. And sort of bouncing back again. This is the model that I was sort of working on today. Sort of to answer your question there, yeah, I do have plans to do more ancient sort of related ships. Sort of jumping back to my 3D printing pictures. One I did do is a cargo jumper, and I think I'll do some ships, but I also have some larger ships planned for in the future. And again, apologies if I sound a little stuffed up. Unfortunately, we're having a lot of weather changes from warm to cold, and it always just mucks up my sinuses. And being in, home more often than outside doesn't help either. Dust during winter just builds up, and I end up being like a snotty human being. And again, sort of to run through what we've been working on, this is the Mara, I guess it'd be sort of like a combat transport. And again, it was something that I started on years ago, and basically I've been sort of touching base on again. And this is probably my last stream on it for a little while, because I want to jump back to the Abydos and work on its weapon pod that I have started. And like with the other models that I'm converting, things like the Mara will eventually be ported over for people who do want to do 3D printing and have the sort of a little bit more knowledge on how to break down the model and make the best prints out of it that they can. So definitely looking forward to what people can do with them. And for people who by all means, drop me a line on my Facebook page or Devin at Art. Tell me what you think, what you like to see. I definitely enjoy the community engagement that I get from different people, especially in COVID times where you just don't get to spend as much time with people as you usually do. It's sort of my social escape. So unless anybody has any extra questions, I'm gonna head off for a bit. Friday night, so the wife does like to eventually see me at some point. I'll probably do, if time allows, another stream tomorrow. Again, that one will probably be focused on the Abydos, and it'll be more focused on the weapon pods. And I might try to do that one a little earlier in the day, depending on where time sort of goes. So again, thank you for everybody that's come and viewed, and I definitely appreciate the input and the community over the years. And again, an extra special thanks to the people who have subscribed on my Patreon page, and the extra money goes towards expanding my abilities, as be it 3D modeling and just design in general. Like, it allows me to gain access to software that in tighter times that it's it hasn't been as easy to sort of purchase, so I really appreciate that. And again, thank you, and everybody, have a good night.